Hey, what's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to talk about Nandrolone again. I made a few videos on this in the past, but specifically in this video, I'm going to talk about whether it's an outdated compound to use, whether there are better compounds to use, and whether Nandrolone, based on the risks and rewards of it, is something that you should use. And I got to mention that I am using it. I have been using it for over 8 months now, continuously, through blast and cruise cycles. Even my cruise cycle, I still use a little bit of Nandrolone, NPP, the fast-acting compound that's kind of a sister compound to Deca. But just an introduction, Nandrolone, whether it's Deca, Durbolin, or NPP, Nandrolone phenylpropionate, it's kind of a staple. It is a staple in steroid use in cycles for quite some time now in bodybuilding, okay? Obviously, you probably know that. Why is it so great? It's a powerful mass builder and strength builder. Much more than something like, let's see here. EQ, I've never done EQ, but I'm going to say it's greater than that. I'm going to say it's greater than Primobolan for sure. Not as great as maybe Trenbolone, but it's up there. It's up there for sure. It's a powerful one. It's a NOR19 compound like Trenbolone, but with that NOR19, there's elevated risks involved. Okay. So I'm going to talk about dosages and such in later on in this video, where you can mitigate the risks if you choose to do it. But that being said, if you go on full-on blast and Nandrolone, there's some potential volatility there. That's an understatement in some regards, okay? In physiological, psychological, and other effects. Some people respond really well to it. They get all of the greatness from Nandrolone without any side effects, and they are just a good responder to it. And other people, they get nothing from it, and it's just like horrible side effects. So there's variance. It goes based on individuals here, okay? As opposed to something like Primobolan, where you're not going to get variance between people as much, being like, I respond well to Primobolan or not. Maybe heightened blood pressure, some people, and some people don't get heightened blood pressure, but it's not like you get, some people go psychological effects off Primobolan and things, right? There's not that there's not as much of a variance in other safer, cleaner compounds. So that poses the question, is Nandrolone still relevant when you have these other choices that are cleaner? You can just run more Primobolan then, right? And get maybe similar results. Yes? No? I'll start with that question. So, why was Nandrolone, why was it in particular, but why is it even still so popular? What made it so popular? Simple. Muscle strength and gains in size. It's that simple. I noticed when I started taking it, the short-acting, the phenylpropionate version, on top of masteron and testosterone. I ran a cycle that about around March of last year I started with, and I noticed within 2 weeks, it was like, holy shit. It was just fullness, muscle fullness, and the strength was ridiculous. I've run 2 blast cycles on doing that exactly, testosterone, masteron, and Nandrolone. And when I blasted, I noticed that, like, for example, bicep curls, before I could do maybe 130 pounds for 10 reps comfortably. And now next I'm doing 180 pounds. You know what I mean? For 10 reps. It's in bicep, a 50-pound difference is pretty substantial for doing hammer curls or something like that. So yeah, major strength gains and size gains. It's like, okay, I'm not a fucking bodybuilder, but this compares to like, you might be like, what was I before? Like before, I was nothing like that. Okay, biceps is just a staple. I can show you the rest of the body. And you're like, oh, you're not like a bodybuilder. Yeah, that's never was my plan to be a bodybuilder. My plan was to be strength at my age, 40 years old. Okay, strong at my age, and so it's using the golden era of bodybuilding by many particularly bodybuilders through golden era, like the 70s, 80s. It wasn't atypical for somebody to run something like D-ball and DECA. Right? That would mean actually probably a decent cycle back in the day. But now we've come a long ways. Like D-ball is kind of outdated, you would say, even though it has its purpose in maybe some regards. But this brings the question: is Nandrolone outdated as well? Sorry about that. So I'm going to cover the risks of Nandrolone, because there are some. Increased risk of gynecomastia due to progesterone activity. And my last blast cycle, I accidentally did too much Nandrolone because I got a new source. I went from vials that were 100 milligrams per milliliter of vial to 150 milligrams per milliliter vial. And I didn't even look at the label. I just started doing what I was doing before, and I got gynecomastia. Decadic, never got that. So, but I never ran super high doses of it or DECA only doses. Maybe if you did that, you would experience that again. Maybe that's due to some suppression of some neurotransmitters. That's my guess anyway. To be honest, I don't really know about that. Mental side effects, depression and whatnot. Again, maybe there's something neurologically going there with the neurotransmitters based on hormonal activity. I did notice that when my first blast cycle, when I pushed it a bit up, I started at like 100 milligrams a week, and I went to 150, 200, 250. Right around when I went from anything over 200, I noticed psychological. Okay. Sorry, I'm allergic to my dog, so I might sneeze a bit. I noticed psychological effects after pushing 200. Okay. Now, the other thing I should mention is if you choose the DECA route, you're dealing with a very long ester. So there's a long half-life, and that is undesirable because if you take too much, say you took an amount that's really affecting you psychologically, well, DECA, because it's such a long half-life, you might deal with that for a number of weeks before it subsides. That's why I chose the NPP, the nandrolone phenylpropionate, because it has an ester of like 5 days or a week, I'm going to say. To be honest, I don't really know, but it's short anyway. So if you run into problems, it's like, okay, you got to wait it out a few days, which I did. This happened to me already. And it's like, okay, wait a few days, and it's fine. On that note, I finished my blast cycle at the end of the month. Now it's the 6th of December, so I finished my blast cycle at the end of November. I time it based on a month, and sure enough, within 5 days, my blood pressure went back to normal. 130, well, close enough. 130 over 80, I measured it yesterday. Before that, it was, for the whole blast cycle, was 145 over 90 or something like bullshit, something crazy. It was too much. But that's another video talking about my blast. But it's come back to normal, and I think that's because of the things I'm taking. I don't know how much Nandrolone affects the heart, but I'm sure it does. But like the blood pressure. So after 5 days, it's subsiding anyway, which is great. Are there any other alternatives? Of course. What other alternatives are bodybuilders using? Have they used over the years? The major one is equipoise. Now, I'm almost tempted to, in my next cycle, run equipoise alongside testosterone, and that's it. Maybe run a little bit of anavar within that cycle, like a 4-month cycle, for like 6 weeks, maybe. Testosterone. I was against equipoise before. I thought maybe primobolan would be more ideal, but now I'm leaning towards equipoise because of the fact that it does provide some pretty good gains with milder side effects than Nandrolone. Now, second is primobolan, as I just mentioned. Again, low side effects, great for gains if you run substantial amounts. But I noticed when I was on that, it did affect my blood pressure quite a bit, and it's pretty expensive. And for the fact that it's expensive, not getting as much gains, and causing that high blood pressure, I think it's good. It has its purpose. Don't get me wrong. Primobolan is great. It's a great clean drug, and I that was my first cycle I did. My first blast cycle, I did testosterone and primobolan and anavar at the end of that cycle, and it was a good start. So I might revisit that one as well. And lastly is just running higher testosterone. Instead of running Nandrolone and testosterone, just run higher testosterone. You're going to get more predictable results on that, but potential risk for higher estrogen. So if you do that, maybe something running like Masteron alongside that would be ideal, because Masteron seems to counter the estrogenic effects pretty well. So why would you still run Nandrolone? Why? Well, for one, it does seem to relieve joint relief, and I did notice that. I skateboarded since 1991, and I was born in 1984. Okay, so I'm 40 years old. I've been skateboarding for a long time. Ever since, remember when the skateboards were still fish shaped? That's when I started skateboarding, and I still do to this day. Not as much as hardcore as I did, but regardless, I've fell down on asphalt more times than like anybody else you think of, like badly. Broken so many bones and things. My joints are fucked. I can't even do a basic squat with no weights. I feel my knees, I feel my ankles and things. Nandrolone actually helped with that. I felt the benefits. That's why I run it all the time now. But nothing crazy high doses. It helps. 100%. Now, bulking cycles, when I did do a proper cycle, I increased it up to 250, like I said, on top of 300 tests, 300 masts, and even a little bit of anavar sprinkled on that, top of that at time. The gains were noticeable, to say the least. If you're able to tolerate it well, then it's a good thing. I noticed that I tolerated it well for the most part, except for the cystic acne. But I don't know if it's from the Nandrolone or the Masteron or the testosterone. Regardless, it was definitely when I started blasting shit that I got the cystic acne on my chest, sternum area here. See a little bit right there? It sucks. To be honest, I really don't mind it so much. My girlfriend doesn't like it, but all I know is just like the sebaceous glands, which are like the glands that produce sebum, which is like sweat, are overactive, and they're just under the top layer of your dermis. They're still part of the dermis, but they're under the top layer of your dermis. So there's way too much sebum being produced just under the surface, so that it's creating these little bubbles. Okay? And it's not like something you can wash your superficial layer of skin with and it cleans it. It's not that. It's a bit something under the surface, What I've been trying to do that I think has helped is using steam rooms and saunas. I have a steam room at my work and a sauna at my gym, and I think that's helped just sweating out the, I want to call them toxins, but it kind of is because where you do sweat out are toxins. So it's like it's called sebum. So I'm just trying to sweat out all of the bad stuff, and hopefully that helps. So in conclusion, is Nandrolone still useful or outdated? Well, I think it serves its purpose. And whether the purpose it serves can you achieve with other drugs? Yeah, yes and no. Although it does do what it does well. I'll give it that. If you did 200 to 300 tests, 200 Nandrolone, and maybe just something to counteract any estrogenic effects like Mastron, just a little bit, then will you get gains? Yes, unless you're just sitting on your ass watching Netflix every day, eating McDonald's, you will get gains. If you're hitting the gym 3-4 times a week, at least, you will get gains. You eat well, you sleep well. The gains will be there, 100%. Now, is there a better option? Is EQ a better option? I don't know. I've never done EQ. I might try that next time, to be honest. Running equal amounts of EQ and testosterone, and then maybe something like Masteron on top of that. That might be an issue. That might be another one that has less side effects. It's not a Nor19, right? So, what are your guys' experience with Nandrolone? I hope to hear that, or any criticisms and compliments of that. And I think it's not outdated. I think it's still a great compound. It worked for me. It's worked beautiful, and I think it's relatively low on the harmful effects side of things because Nandrolone is actually naturally produced in the body, believe it or not to the same extent testosterone is. So, when we're injecting it through exogenous hormones, it's a lot more than what's naturally produced, but Nandrolone is still a naturally producing hormone in the body, so we should be able to metabolize it, correct? That's the logic anyway. I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. Peace.